Down in old Kentucky, where horseshoes are lucky, there's a village smithy standing under the chestnut tree. Hear the hammer knocking, see the anvil rocking. He sings the boogie blues.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to Fenix Forge. Apologize if the lights are bright. I'm doing this on my own today. So today I wanted to do a tutorial for you on how to make a rebar knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick it in the forge. We're going to hammer out a basic knife shape. What we're going to use is some 1/2-inch rebar. This is old stuff I found. I built my wife a hoop greenhouse, and then we moved, and I had to take it down. So I took all the rebar with me because this stuff is expensive. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a rebar paring knife. All we're going to do is just heat it up. We're going to take a certain portion of it that we think should be a nice blade, hammer it out, make it nice and smooth. I'm going to cut the handle off, and then we're just gonna kind of finish off the handle a little bit. As you guys know, I don't have very many power tools, very many tools to help me do this, but that's okay. I like doing it all by hand anyway. So had a minor setback yesterday. Was going to do this tutorial yesterday, but my dimmer switch on my blower didn't work great, so had to buy a new one. But I'm going to go ahead and move you. I'm going to put you on the other side of the anvil. Don't necessarily think you want to see me heating up the steel all the time, so I'm going to move you to the other side of the anvil, and I'll pick it back up. But thanks for coming to the shop. I enjoy having you here. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. So I've had my rebar in the fire here. It's got nice and warm. So I got my rebar, and I got my cross-peen hammer. We're just going to start flattening this out. Not quite as flat as I want it yet, but I want to take this tip and I want to start to form the tip of the blade. I think we'll do this side. And just work on flattening it out more. This type of hammer is called a rounding hammer. On this end, it's domed a lot, actually. So it moves the steel in all different directions. This side is pretty much flat, so it helps smooth everything out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my workpiece right here. I'm going to use the flat side of my hammer, and I'm going to smooth out the blade that I just forged. Now I want to create a ricasso. I'm going to take the hammer, well, I'm going to take the piece, I'm going to put it on the edge of the anvil right here. I'm going to take my hammer, I'm going to give it a good sharp hit. And just a slight bend to the handle. Make sure everything's nice and straight. Okay. Alright, I like that. So when we created the ricasso, you can see right here where it's just a little bit of a indent, just a little bit of a divot. That's just to help keep your finger from sliding up onto the blade. Now you'll notice the blade is a little thick right here. That's okay. We're gonna put our grind lines right in there, so it'll thin it down. Now we're gonna cut this thing off. I have a cutter in my toolbox there. Well, we're gonna cut it off probably right about there. We're gonna heat this up and we'll get it chopped off. So we just slide it in here. That looks about right. That'll do. So now that's all apart. I'm going to take my hot end here and I'm going to stick it in a bucket I've got. Don't want to ruin it. We'll be able to use it later. Take a pair of tongs. Pull this guy out. He's going to go back in the fire. We're going to dress up the back of the handle a little bit. Maybe bend the handle a little bit more. Then we got to set him aside to cool. So back up here, we want to dress this up. Maybe curve the handle a bit more, and he should be alright. So back in the fire. Now you get to watch me struggle to get this thing out. Easier than last time. Alright, so here's the end. Dress it up a little bit. And now, just going to put a little bit more bend in the handle. A little more curve. Alright, let's take a look, make sure everything's nice and straight there. Looks good to me. We're going to set that aside to cool. When it's cool naturally, don't want to dunk it in water or anything because it'll ruin the steel, make it really brittle, and it'll harden it instantly. So set it aside to cool down naturally, and then we'll be back. I'll show you the process of grinding it out and finishing it off. Okay, welcome back. So we forged our rebar knife here. So the next thing we need to do is grind this down so it actually, you know, resembles something sharp. You can see here that we've got an edge. I left it kind of thick because I want to work with it a little bit, take it down a little bit smaller. But I don't have one of those fancy grinders like a lot of the Smiths have. This is all I have. It's actually a bell sander I borrowed from my dad. Working towards getting myself one, but don't have the money yet. So I use this. Various grits of sandpaper. I got a 60, 80, or 120. And then I have a angle grinder that has some different grits to it. So this is 60 grit. I have a bucket of water over here. As you start to grind these knives down, they get real hot. So you want to keep them cool. You don't want them to harden and lose their temper. So this guy here, we're going to start grinding him down and see what we can't make. Right after I plug in the grinder, because that's important. Power. And let's try it again. Now we're going to switch to a bit of a finer grit. I'm going to switch to 80 grit. Now we've got our blade cleaned up. We've got a nice little bevel on it. So the next thing we need to do is a heat treat. So I've walked you through the heat treat process of one of these blades before, but I'm going to do it again. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to heat the forge up. I've got my oil up on top of the forge. We want that oil to be at about 120, 130 degrees, just so that we have a good quench. Want it to get nice and hard. And then we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to use our angle grinder with a brush on it to clean up the handle, and we'll take this back to the 120 grit sandpaper to polish it all up after it gets hard. Back here we go. Apologize, the blower's a little loud. I'll turn it down a bit. Alright, so what we're going to do is this is going to go in the fire. We're going to get it to a nice critical temperature. Have to be very careful though, because the tip of that will burn very easily since it's very thin. So we have to just watch it real close. I'm going to put it in there, and I'm actually putting the tip a little bit outside of the coals. We're going to take it out of there when it reaches critical heat, and we're going to put it in our quench pan. I like to quench north-south. I've explained that before. So we will just keep an eye on this blade and make sure she doesn't burn. See how the tip's already nice and hot and the rest isn't? Almost there. Critical or non-magnetic is what we're looking for. I like to test all my blades when I get them out of a quench. I want to see if they're nice and hardened, and I also like to see if they're brittle or fragile. So we're going to grab a file. Just slides right off. Doesn't bite at all. That's good. Now let's test it. Not brittle. Won't shatter. Didn't mark up the blade. So I think this is a nice and hardened blade. So what we're going to do is bring it back over here to the grinder, clean it up a little bit, take it from there. Okay, back over to the grinder. Using 120 grit. Just clean up the blade a little bit. Won't take but a second. Make sure the bevel's nice and clean. Then we're going to take it to the angle grinder. So just a second on the grinder, and we took it back down to a nice polished finish. It is a hardened blade at this point in time, so we want to try to keep it cool so it doesn't lose its temper. Nothing is worse than when a knife loses its temper. Move this guy off to the side. And now we got our vise. So we're going to go ahead and put our blade in here. Blade first. And we're going to get our angle grinder to clean that up. Chewy has come to check on me to make sure that I'm okay. He's over here. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. He's a good boy. Okay. So now we've got our angle grinder. Got my gloves. It's cold out here, so I'm wearing my Carhartt so I don't have my apron on. But wire cut brushes will shed. They will fling wire at you. Safety equipment is necessary when dealing with wire cut brushes. Got my gloves, got my Carhartt. Turn this over. All right, now let's take a quick look. All right, looks pretty good. So there you have it, start to finish on a rebar knife, a little paring knife. I'll use it. I'll sell it in the kitchen, or for in the kitchen. It's got a nice dressed up little handle here, nothing sharp, so it's not going to grab you. The blade, on the other hand, well, be careful. Nice little curved handle. Let's take my colossal hand out of my glove to see if it's just nice right there in the hand. So this is a rebar paring knife made out of 1/2-inch rebar. You watch the process from start to finish, so if you want to try to forge it, go ahead. I don't hold any patents on this. It's just a piece of steel that I picked up, so by all means, please try it. Thank you for watching Phoenix Forge. Thank you for spending some time with me in the shop. We've made a rebar spike knife. If you are interested in buying this knife, you can find it on www.mimiscupboard.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Down in old Kentucky, where horseshoes are lucky, there's a village smithy standing under the chestnut tree. Hear the hammer knocking, see the anvil rocking. He sings the boogie blues.